I'll challenge you on that.
Okay.
What would you say to a person, and this is personal experience, in applying that approach, who may have gone through abuse, right? As a young person, vulnerable, born into this world with parents or a mother who didn't care for them, a parent, father, say, who wasn't around, had relatives who took care of them but abused them, psychologically, physically, sexually, and putting it into your equation in regards to 10 things you're grateful for, and easy or difficult is relative, right? Depending your perception. Okay, how would you explain that to someone who's had a life like that? Because the way you presented it was a case where, in essence, nothing is difficult. If you apply yourself, if you do the necessary research, if you gather the necessary information, everything can be accomplished. Okay, fine, that's great there, but what if I'm coming from a background like that? How do you relay that information to that individual in regards to that situation?
So definitely in me liking the Chicago Bulls, that being my team, if they lose, I may be like, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get to it. I'm building the case. Right now, I'm building the case. So I'm breaking down. I'm building up the song. You see I gotta put that out there so you know where it's going.
Say if you lay down, am I gonna stay down with you? Girl, you got me strung out on your loving, and I'm wanting more. Girl, I'm here to stay.
This is a Grand Rising collective filming project that we're doing. My name is Kayode Bentley. I'm president and founder of an organization called 4T's Productions, a youth development organization that helps youth identify their inherent skill set in order to capitalize on education, to establish a career, and in essence start a business. In case I forget, or in case we're doing this filming and I forget to let you know where we can be found, you can go to the website 4ts.org, the number 4, the letter T, the letter S.org. I also have YouTube channels, which is a new campaign that I'm working on called Perspective TV. So if you type Perspective, it's YouTube, so if you type Perspective TV or Talk with Pops, I'm doing an interview with my pop right here. We started this series, and I'm going to soon continue into interviews, but not an interview, but more of a discussion with a colleague of mine who I'm very impressed with, who motivates me, along with my pop, Dixon. So that's my introduction. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave it open to Kyle to introduce himself, and last but definitely not least, my pop to introduce himself.
So again, my name is Kyle Dixon, as my brother Kayode thoroughly and elegantly stated. But I'm an educator by trade, activist, entrepreneur, co-founder of Precise Minds Filmworks. I've been an educator for close to 20 years. We started Precise Minds in 2005. It's a media entertainment company based on the stories and the experiences of people of color and our culture, and how we need to own more of that, need to tell more of our stories, and be the proponents and the authors, directors, producers of our stories. And I started that with my business partner, Corey Smallwood. And in reference to that, we also started, myself and Kayode started the group Grand Rising Collective, and I came up with that title because it's a title when typically people say good morning, people say good rising or grand rising. So for me, it's a great way to start off the day. It's a reminder to always be grand and be great in what you do, and you always rise to the occasion of what you want to do and what you want to achieve and accomplish. So with that idea in mind, we want to share that with the community, and always to always promote being great, to promote your wellness and the things that you want and things that you do. So I don't want to talk too much, but that is the premise of us coming together and capturing these moments, so that way this information that we all have collectively from different generations, from my generation to Kayode's generation to his father's generation, to be able to share this information with the community, so to enhance how we do things and to be better in our daily actions.
My given name is Leonard Bentley, and my African name is Adewale Atiliwa, which I got at a naming ceremony from Ataki Yosef Nyakinen over there in Kemet, in front of the Great Pyramid that architect Khufu had built. This goes back to 1984. I'm glad to see that their forecast, or what they're looking for, is going into business. Because more and more of us have to go into business, since we've been denied that, especially in my generation coming up. We've been trained to go to school, get a good education, get a job, but to be working for someone else. So now it's good that my younger ones, my son and his colleagues, are coming up and saying now, instead of working for somebody else, they can go into business for themselves, and it requires a different mindset, which I'm awfully proud to be hanging out with both these young fellas today. So that's my story, and that's about for me.
Okay. Okay.
I'm enjoying myself very much, hanging out with my son and his colleague Kyle.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I'm learning. But as we were growing up, we talk about our generation, a lot of our people, when it comes to culture and dealing with history, what's a drawback to a lot of our people, into some of my young ones, I'm noticing that, when it comes to race and identity. A lot of them don't have an ethnic identity. And along with that, they don't have a racial identity. Now, why I bring this up, because as you're growing up, you're going to be coming in contact with different cultures. And other cultures that know their history and their culture, and you don't know yours, is one of the things they try to attack on you as we're growing up. And I want the younger ones, I'm proud of these two in particular, because they're very well grounded, they're very well cultured, which is important, especially going forward. Because whether we like it or not, you're going to come into competition, or your competition will be those from your adversaries and also from your enemies. So the longer you prepare, like I say, the ABCs, that's your attitude, behavior, and conduct. As long as you have that grounded, especially you know who you are ethnically, and you know who you are racially. Because we're living in a racist country, coming out of, not just coming out of Europe, but how this country was founded. Number one, this is a amusing, sarcastic, amusing thing to me that I just found out about recently, and that is, I'm very optimistic, because a lot of my people now, the more we find out about ourselves as an ethnic group and as a race, the more we find out about our adversaries, and the more we find out about our enemies. Now, living in this country, a lot of us don't understand the predicament that we find ourselves in. And in order to help ourselves to get out of this thing, we got to know who put us here. How do we get here? This requires a knowledge of history and culture. Now, this Constitution of the United States, the preamble, which is sarcastically interesting. When you read that preamble of the United States Constitution, it says what? We the people of this union, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, do ordain, establish these truths, that all men are created equal. But yet when you read Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, it lays out for you who they're talking about. Now in section 2 of Article 1, it talks about the Indians not taxed, and then it says 3/5 of all other people. A lot of people are confused, they don't know what those 3/5 of other people are. Those 3/5 of other people are slaves at that time when this Constitution was drawn up. Now, 3/5, when you focus on that, coming back to math, which is very good, I'm happy for you, I'm proud of you. Now it says 3/5 of all other people, talking about our forefathers at that time. Okay? 3/5, not 4/5, and not 5/5, which is a whole.
Yeah.
Okay? So if we're 2/5 short of being a man, according to the preamble, and 2/5 short of being human beings. We're reading and hearing a lot about in the news today about the white supremacy. Okay? So you don't know where these white supremacists are coming from, where they're coming from, that Constitution. This is why they think of us as, like, they call themselves superior, and they call us inferior. See, that goes back to that Constitution. The Constitution tells you, right? The preamble tells you, and the Constitution spells it out for you. Okay, Article 1, Section 2. Okay, and they want to go back to him. A lot of them talk that they want to go back to the Constitution, but they're talking about the original Constitution minus the amendments.
Okay.
Okay, and then when you're dealing with the amendments, you got to deal with the 3 amendments, 13, 14, and 15. Now, the 13th amendment is the one that freed our forefathers, supposed to be taking the shackles and chains off of them. Then you deal with that 14th amendment. The 14th amendment is one that made us citizens in this country. Then you deal with the 15th amendment. The 15th amendment gave us the right to vote. But if you notice now, the Ku Klux Klan is the oldest white racist terrorist organization in America today. So not only the Ku Klux Klan, you got their subgroups, like the American Nazi Party. I got a list of them at home. Next time we get together, I'll bring that out for you too. But primarily, and this is what we have to be. I'm very happy that you, two of my younger ones, younger brothers, are becoming aware of this. Because like Malcolm said, you know, he believes in self-defense. He didn't believe in Jesus and that turn the other cheek shit. He said you got to defend yourself, be it verbally or physically. But as long as you defend yourself and then defend your people. But defend yourself. But I don't want you going off saying you're going to defend yourself when the odds are against you. We got to keep you here, and you got to prolong and keep going because of the progress that you're making already. Okay? Because our race, our ethnic group is going to need y'all, you two, to help teach them and guide them.
10 things that we're grateful for. Yeah, but just things that we're always grateful for, always being appreciative, and basically it kind of goes into self-care, right? Self-care. And also goes into whether things are hard or easy. Let me go into that. Whether things are hard or easy is really perception.
Right.
And I think, no, I know. Whenever we come across an obstacle, especially when we talk about limits and plateaus, depending on the person, it can be seen as difficult, challenging, or it can be seen as easy and something that's very, just easy to accomplish. So, what determines that? When people say, okay, oh, this is hard or this is easy, it really depends on the person. It really depends on not just the person's experiences, but their awareness and whether they learn from those experiences to be able to handle those situations. And when I thought about it, I was thinking about it a week or so ago, and this concept is nothing new. I've heard it before, but just, certain things hit you at certain times. And I was working out, and when we talk about limitations, we say, oh man, this is so easy. Well, it's easy because you've done it before, or your body's equipped to handle it. And then something is challenging because you're breaking past what you perceive as your limit, or perceived as something that you're maybe unaware of. So, for example, somebody like you were doing math. For that, at that time and place, it was challenging for you. because you couldn't grasp the concept of it yet. But once you grasp that concept and you spent time with it and went over it, then it became easier. So really, it was a perception thing. It was really like, oh, it was really easy all the time or hard all the time, but you apply yourself. You were able to retain the lessons and things learned from it, so therefore it became easy. So really, it's really about perception. And people may say it may be also a reference of time and energy. Time and energy dictates whether something is easy and or challenging. If I need to lift this table, but yet I don't have the muscle capacity or the knowledge on how to lift it properly, somebody say, oh, that's challenging, you need to lift this table. No, I need to know the dynamics and the physics in order to be able to approach it properly and able to lift the table. Then once I learn that and attain that, then I can lift the table and then it becomes easy. So it's really about the application of the paradigm. Going back to, okay, what is this I'm looking at? What is my objective? And how can I achieve that objective in the most efficient and effective way possible? So when we talk about things that are whether easy or challenging, it's all perception. It's all on how we approach it. It's all on how we are viewing it from our own experiences and circumstances. The register, that's hard. No, it's not. It's easy once I understand what I'm looking at, what are the dynamics that I'm approaching it with, and then I take it from there.
Okay. I'll challenge you on that.
Okay.
What would you say to a person, this is personal experience, in applying that approach, who may have gone through abuse, right? As a young person, vulnerable, going into this world with parents or a mother who didn't care for them, a father, say, who wasn't around, had relatives who took care of them but abused them, psychologically, physically, sexually, and putting it into your equation in regards to 10 things you're grateful for, and easy or difficult is relative, right? Depending your perception. Okay, how would you explain that to someone who's had a life like that? Because the way you presented it was a case where, in essence, nothing is difficult. If you apply yourself, if you do the necessary research, if you gather the necessary information, everything can be accomplished. Okay, fine, that's great there, but what if I'm coming from a background like that? How do you relay that information to that individual in regards to that situation?
And that's a great scenario, man, because in the time and place that happened, that was very hard and very difficult. And that's not to diminish any of those experiences, because people are going through that very much so in our communities, all over, Black, white, Asian, Latino. That's happening in all communities, unfortunately, because society that we live in and the way things are functioning. So if I talk to that person, I have talked to people like this before, and I'm not an expert, but from my perspective, what I would say to the person is, I recognize your pain. I can't diminish that. I recognize that, and I feel with you. And then I would also say that from the things that you feel, do you feel like the person that acted that violence against you, do you feel like you deserve that? And then from there, I would say, okay, if you don't feel you deserve that, then let's recognize it, but let's also recognize where that person was coming from, to be able to say that the abuse that they may have been through, they just, in some twisted way, acted that upon you because of their pain and their struggle within themselves. But then if somebody who felt like it was their fault, then we would have to go through why the actions that you feel like you've done or what they said that you did that made you feel that way, that it was something that you deserved. And then I would take them into who deserves that? Why would they feel you deserve that? Because again, we're all in our kind of worlds. We're all in our kind of structures of how we function with each other. Because society is communal, which people fail to forget. It is communal, but in that communal, there's also dysfunction. And being able to recognize what is functional and what is dysfunctional, as your father was saying earlier, he was saying that we have gotten away from the culture and identity of what we truly are because we're in this societal structure, and the things that have been acted against us, upon us, we have sometimes sometimes we have acted in a negative way against ourselves, and now we see that as functional. And it is not, it is dysfunctional. But our dysfunction has become a normality, so therefore people feel like it's regular, and it's not.
And one of the factors that contributes to that, even now to this day, at one period of time, there was this dude, this fellow called Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch from England, from Barbados, from England by way of Barbados, coming over to this country. And there was a conference. This is just prior to the United States, the writing of the United States Constitution. There was a private conference that Willie Lynch had with the slave owners over here. In fact, they had invited him over here since he was he classified as a successful plantation owner down in Barbados because he owned sugar canes. Okay? So he was telling how talking about how he treated the Barbadians. He came over here and had a bag, his bag of tricks, how he treated the Barbadians. You see, in his bag of tricks, he used to keep us from ever getting together. What might be hard or difficult for some people, or one person, might not be as hard or difficult for somebody else. Just like, as an example or scenario, and I always use football as a scenario because it's so much what you go through. And when you play football, you got a set of plays. You know, no play is the same. They all got different diagrams, different patterns. Each receiver has their own pattern that they got to run. The interior lineman from tackle to tackle has certain blocks for certain plays that they have to use. In the backfield, the ball carriers, the play designates where they're supposed to run, how they're supposed to run, and how they're supposed to follow the blockers. It's going to be, say, like a 28 sweep. That's the left halfback going around the right end, picking up his blockers. Same thing with that's 28. Same thing with the 29 sweep. Same thing with 19 bootleg. That's where the quarterback puts that ball by his leg. The whole team, the offense going this way, he's going down this way by himself. But that's an individual. Those plays, you can pick out a play for each particular player that fits him, that fits his skills, that fits his particular skills.
So basically what you're saying in regards to that scenario is whatever situation that the person is going through in their life, whether it's difficult, whether it's easy, depends on that individual. So, okay, I got that. That's fine.
And the situation that they're dealing with.
The situation that they're dealing with. Do you think every situation, regardless of who the individual is, can be accomplished if they were given the right information and knew the physics involved?
I would think so. I would think so. Again, I'd have to come back to the scenario, the person and the situation that they're dealing with. So each situation depends upon the person that you're in, or the person that they're in, and the circumstance that they're dealing with. That's why you can't make, or I don't make a blanket statement on nothing until I see what the circumstances are. Then I might make an analysis or see what the situation is after that. It's just like we're doing now, saying, so you do your research. That means you got to study. And when you study, you know the subject matter that you're studying. Not only be familiar with it, but make sure you got it covered. that you know it as best you can thoroughly. So when you come into a conversation like that, at least you know what you're talking about. You can also educate at the same time that you're talking.
With that, if you're a subject matter on it or not, or if you know anything about it or not, that analogy that you gave regarding football is great because it applies to life. That's what Pop taught me. Do you have any input or any take on someone who's been through a situation that's traumatic, such as abuse, psychologically, physically, sexually?
A lot of our youth right now, Baba Bentley, are going through a lot of emotional distress. And it's not like there's anything new, but because they lack some of the awareness and knowledge of how to deal with that, or they're so used to functioning in dysfunction, they're not knowing how to express it, so it's coming out instead of like maybe our generation, maybe we acted out. This generation is going very internal and committing suicides, cutting themselves. Again, this is nothing new, but this generation is very intrinsic, not intrinsic, but very internal. What do they call it? Intrapersonal. They're very much in their emotions. And then not to say that we don't have emotions, but they don't express it, so it comes out in certain things where they, again, suicides, harm to themselves, lashing out at other people. How do we as a culture and also as a community help to unpack that from our historical, cultural link? How do we address that problem? How do we address that? Or how can we address that?
If you know, as best you can.
We as black men, and I'm referring now to my generation, one thing that most of us in my generation have dropped the ball on. Coming back to Malcolm, we are going to have to unite and get our families together, and fathers, black men, go as fathers for our sons and to our nephews. Because if you notice now today, take this Donald Trump. He wants to make America great again. That is a direct assault on us. Because as you know, our younger brothers and my nephews are right now, the younger ones, they're targets. What he's trying to do to wipe out my younger generation. To eliminate my younger generation will cause less competition for his generation, his kids coming up. Okay? Here is where it is incumbent upon us, and I put most of the pressure on myself and my generation, brothers, because they didn't take the time or spend the time with their children coming up, especially the sons. And they are the ones that suffer from this shit now today. Okay? Now that they come through elementary school, come through varsity school, junior varsity, high school. A lot of them might be in schools, high schools in pretty good districts. But when they get into that college level, here's where they're going to be faced point blank with the sons and daughters of the Ku Klux Klan, of the American Nazis, and all the rest of these white racist groups. And if they're not armed psychologically and mentally with their own culture and history, okay, they're going to catch hell. This is when they're going to run up at some kind of pressure. Then too, if they got some of these teachers who are also white racists. So we got to compare, we got to teach and train our kids, especially our sons. Because like I said, they are the targets. Because they're going to be future leaders. Like y'all going to be future leaders. And they can't have y'all as future leaders competing against them, against their kids. I look at this guy, Mitt Romney, for example. He was running for president about 4 or 5 years ago. This was got 6 sons. 6. None of them been in the military. Look at Donald Trump. He got a son and a daughter. And a son-in-law. None of them in the military. And yet still he wants to go to war with Iraq. Okay? He put 5,000 troops over there in Iraq. Now, whose sons and daughters do you think he's going to send over there?
Right.
No, man. I tell him, I said, look, before my son or anybody in my family go anywhere outside this country to fight for this country, I want to see George Bush the third. He got 2 daughters. See, the Army now is co-ed,
Right.
men and women.
Right.
I want to see George, he got 2 daughters. I want to see George Bush send his 2 daughters over there. I want to see Jeb Bush, his brother, send his 2 daughters over there. And I want Trump to send his kids over there, and I don't want them in the back. And in the back, I want them up on the front lines to prove their worth. Since you say this is your country, goddammit, then you come on, would you go there and fight for it? Don't be sending my kids or my people over there to fight for this. Now, why should I go over there or send my kids or have my kids over there and fight for what? I'm gonna fight for the Ku Klux Klan to lynch me and shit? Or the American Nazi Party to come on me and shit and get my people? No. You fight your own battles. I'm gonna have mine sit home and get their benefits like yours was doing. They don't want to hear that. But this is what we gotta do. We gotta take more, we gotta spend more time with our families. We gotta get our families together, especially our young sons and nephews.
But I'm saying if you have parents who are messed up themselves, right? How can you expect those parents who are messed up themselves to be able to raise children who are not messed up? Right? Because if that parent doesn't know what it's like to love themselves, how can they give that to their children? So my question to you in the form of discussion, and Kyle, please change or rephrase my question if it's not accurate. I love it.
Yeah.
My question to you is it just that, parents got to get and spend time with their children, or is it something more to that? Do the parents need to go to maybe a therapist, or evaluate themselves to see what's going on, or seek some type of outside help, right? And then get that outside help to some level, and then spend time with their children so they can impart what they've learned that's healthy or positive to them? Is that an option, or the other options, Kyle? If I didn't phrase that question correctly, please add to it, or if I did, if you can, pop answer that.
That's very good, and that's what's going to have to be done too. Because you're right, parents who are dysfunctional themselves, then how are they going to be teaching their children to be functional? Okay. So it's this. The thing goes back to this Willie Lynch, how we've been indoctrinated.
Yeah.
See, and how we've been indoctrinated because a lot of the brothers or the sisters in my generation, I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I'm lucky, and I'm fortunate. I had good home training. Okay. And I had good discipline training, going through sports and whatnot. And I had a good military training. Okay, so I'm lucky. So what was given down to me, I passed down to my family.
Right.
Okay, so this is what we're going to have to do with our own family, us as a people now.
Yeah.
Because it's becoming critical. Us knowing who we are. Okay. Connected with that, and then getting our families together. Okay.
What are some principles like? Because I know, like with me, like I don't have the children yet, but like what are some principles that someone could do? Like, is it trust? Is it honesty? Is it like being at home every day, seeing them? Like, what are some like things that are just tangible that we may say, oh well, that's normal, or we say, oh well, that's what you're supposed to be doing, but it's like, no, these are essential things. Like, is it talking to your children? Is it not only providing for them financially, but like emotionally? Like, I need to like be able to like talk to them and feel what they're going through to a certain extent, and be able to maybe get them help if I can't do anything, or making sure that we have jobs on our own or something to take care of. Like, what are some tangible things like somebody could do to make sure like that the families come together? What are some traits, qualities that we could do or really be?
As a family, again, I have to come back to this damn Willie Lynch. Because he did a great indoctrination job on separating us. Mentally, psychologically, and in a lot of cases physically. And that's due in large part to, number one, us not knowing who we were, not having a ethnic identity, and then having a racial identity. This is what we're going to have to go around and get back together. And a lot of it is going to fall on black men like myself, because we're supposed to be the cornerstone of the family. Even though we're going through a whole lot of changes, a whole bunch of shit. We have to deal with the baby mama drama, all that. But we're going to have to get together on that, because we got to bring this family together. Because as long as our families are discombobulated or disunited, it leaves us vulnerable for these adversary enemies of ours and the enemy is ours. Say like the Klan, and the adversary in this case is the Jews, white Zionist Jews. I ain't gonna say all Jews, because some Jews are good, but you got those white Zionist Jews. Benjamin Netanyahu over there in Israel. See, he's a big one. He's from Brooklyn. Okay? So he went over there to Israel. Now he's the premier of Israel. Okay? And look what they're doing to the Palestinians. Palestinians are black. These white Zionist Jews are white and from Europe. Okay? So he went over there to set up a democracy, American democracy, over there in Tel Aviv, Israel. Okay? And another thing where this comes important, that you notice, if you notice a group of white folks, Europeans, when they come together, when they meet each other in their social settings, the first thing they do when they introduce each other, they start telling their ethnic identity from where they're from in Europe. Say like the Italians, say like the Israelis, say like the Irish, say like the English, say like the French, say like the Germans, say like the Lithuanians, okay, say like the Austrians. They immediately come together and they tell like where they're from in Europe. And then they see who they're connected with. Now, the three I's, the Irish, the Italians, and the Israelis. The Jews will say Israel. They call them, because they identify with Israel. Take it for them. The Italians would tell the Irish how they mix with them. And the Irish and the Italians and the Israelis would tell how all three of them mix together. See? In our social setting, we don't do that. We don't do that, number one, because most of us, a lot don't know who our ethnic identity is, and most of them don't know who our racial identity is. We can do the same thing on the west coast of the motherland, doing slavery, that transatlantic slave trade. Okay? Where we come from? Primarily Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, some parts of Ethiopia, Congo. There's a couple other states involved.
Like Senegal, maybe.
Senegal, right. Right, Senegal. See? So when we come together now, even though we ethnic group over here, it's an ethnic group of African Americans, simply because we were born here. But that's our homeland, the continent. That's where we come from. Okay? Nobody can deny that. Can deny us that. So now when we meet the brothers and sisters from the continent, and there's been an opening up of that now, more acceptance of that. Now, so again, here it comes back to our knowledge of our ethnic identity and our racial identity. See? Now, like, well, with me, they used to say, what did the black, what did the Negro, no, what did the colored people, what did the Negro contribute to civilization? At one period of time, they were saying that civilization started on the island of Crete. That's off the island of Greece. Okay? Then they say civilization started in Greece.
Yeah.
You see, they're not going to tell you about Socrates, who was black and an African, and how they got educated from Kemet.
Black Athena book, right? The Black Athena book talks about that.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
Black Athena, yeah.
I mean, then I asked the question, I said, well, listen, since Europe is so great and y'all so powerful, I noticed there are no pyramids in Europe. And I noticed there's no Nile River in Europe. You got the Battle of the Bulge over there in Germany, but that's nowhere near close with the size of the mighty Nile River. The Nile River is 4,100 miles long. That's 4,100 miles. The Nile River is longer than the United States is wide. See? But they ain't gonna tell you about that shit.
Right. And it goes up.
Yeah.
It goes supposedly up.
It's the only river in the world so far that I know of. It's the only river in the world, as they say, runs the wrong direction.
Right. Right.
All the other rivers run from north to south.
Correct.
But the Nile River runs from the south to the north. Okay. And you got these 7 temples along that Nile River, temple lodges. See? And the curriculum of the 7 liberal arts and sciences comes from that Nile River. Because you got temples along that Nile River where the curriculum is taught. For example, one of my favorite temples, you go there with Doc.
And this is Dr. Ben.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Ben. Okay.
This one temple called Denver. It is awesome. To this day. The curriculum that was taught at the Temple of Denver was astronomy, algebra, geometry, trigonometry. And on the top of the Temple of Denver, you had the sundial, the ancient sundial.
Yes.
That's the first clock made by man. There was no clock prior to the sundial. And when Doc and I went to Denver, we went up on the roof. You couldn't go up on the roof from inside the temple because they had some stairs on the outside of the temple. So we had to go up the stairs to get to the roof, on the Temple of Denver. And while we was up there, we saw the imprint of the sundial. Okay, the sundial is so to show you how far this it was. The sundial measured the time it took for the Earth to rotate on its axis. On a 23-degree angle. It also measured the time it took for the Earth to go around the sun. It also measured the time it took for the other 9 planets of our solar system. Starting with Mercury, going all the way up to Pluto. All that was calculated on that sundial. Okay? How they did that at the time. It's a hell of a thing. The other one is, let's take Philae. That's the first temple at the beginning of the Nile River. Because at that temple, the curriculum was taught the original language called Meta-Netia. Before the Greeks changed it to hieroglyphics.
Right.
See? With the name of it, Meta-Netia. That was taught at the Temple of Philae.
Okay.
What are the tangible steps that a parent or guardian,
just a few,
would give the younger generation who are intrinsic or internal?
Yeah, they're very internal as far as their emotional and holding in their emotions and not knowing how to process it.
Right, which is very unhealthy.
Very unhealthy.
Okay.
And it's coming out in ways of them doing major drug use. This generation is heavy drug users. Opioids, not just marijuana, but opioids and synthetic drugs that are using to kind of deal with their depression or their mood swings. I mean, we know it's also dealing with the food too, but, whereas our generation, we were, we did get violent in some ways, but this generation is not only sometimes being violent, but they're going very internal as far as coping with drugs, heavy drug use. Whereas my generation was like, we don't want to be drug users, we want to be the thugs. So we were acting out and bang, bang, shoot them up. This generation has a little bit less of that, but theirs is more so very like self-destruction and such.
And
like,
for self-destruction, like that rap song,
exactly.
Right. Did you know that about this generation? Not your son, not my generation, but the generation coming after me. Did you know? Were you aware of what Kyle was talking about? How this next generation coming up is internal? They internalize a lot of their feelings, and as a result, the coping mechanism that they use is drugs. Did you know that, Mark?
Now, your generation is called the X generation.
Right.
The generation coming behind you called the multilineal generation. It is this multilineal generation that's affected by these.
Yeah, Gen Z, they say millennials, Generation Z. Yeah, that's the term they give them.
Yeah. See? So, your generation, like I say, y'all belong to the X generation.
Right.
And the generation come behind you called multilineals.
Right.
It is these multilineals, especially the young brothers, not just young brothers, young men, period, but especially young brothers. You know, talk about lack of self-identity, okay, and a lack of racial identity, a lack of their own cultural history and racial history. They don't have that. Right. And a lot of them aren't interested in it. They say everything is, look here, someone call me OG.
Yeah, you be OG, yeah.
Look here, OG. That shit is old, man. I mean, they ain't doing that no more. Yeah, now, but when I get to, and I tell them to vote. You got to get involved in politics. And you got to vote. They look at me like I'm crazy. Say, what? What I'm going to do? Vote for who? For what? What you going to do? They ain't putting no money in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? And you put them in it, they ain't doing shit. So why should I vote for them? But at the same time, while it's an insult to their intelligence, okay, and it's a waste of their time. See, the Ku Klux Klan, the American Nazi Party, all of these white racist parties, white supremacist parties, them motherfuckers votes. And not only that, they get their kids to vote. I got a picture at home that we got a little girl in a Ku Klux Klan outfit, 5 years old. Okay, and she's pointing at a state troop, a black state trooper's shield, meaning that shield's supposed to protect her. Okay, but anyway, like I'm saying, now here she is. Now, if they are teaching their kids that. So what do you think? Well, we got to do with ours, okay? Because where ours, it's a waste of time and it's an insult, but at the same time, they vote to keep you from voting right now. So to come back to your point, what can we do as parents?
What are the steps?
Yeah, what are just a few?
Just a few steps that we can tangible.
Tangible daily steps that like somebody can start doing with their son, their daughter. To like, how do we break that cycle?
I got something for you already.
Yeah.
Piggyback off it.
Okay.
That you mentioned already. This is what you said. So you said step one would be cultural. You said cultural generation. They need to learn their culture. You also mentioned ethnic identity. All right. And then the third one was vote. I'm going to ask you another one, but I'm going to ask you a specific question. What's the difference between cultural generation and ethnic identity? Are they one and the same, or if not, how are they different?
Your culture is the lifestyle that you live. That's your culture. Different ones have different culture. Europeans have their own culture, we have our own culture. Cultural difference. Ethnic identity. Who are you? Now, my given name when I was born is Leonard Bentley. But when I went to Doc, we went to Kemet, Egypt, in front of the Great Pyramid that Akhe Khufu built. It was a special naming ceremony, the only one at its time. When Doc gave me my African name, Adewale Akiliwa. Okay? Now, ethnic identity. Like, who are you? All right. So, you're an African American. But first, who are you? What's your name? Who's your parents? Where they come from? Your parents, where they came from, what's your name, and your identity. That's your ethnic identity. Now, what is your racial identity? Your racial identity is the continent from which you come from. That's why you call African Americans.
So let me ask you a question, Bob. There's always a question, and feel free, Kyle, to judge. There's always a pivotal question that people are asking, particularly young people, that always seems to be confusing. And that question is, who are you? And no one seems to be able to answer that question. And when they do answer it, it's more in the terms of what they do as opposed to who they are. So when someone asks, who are you, they say, oh, I am the president of this, or I'm the supervisor here, or I work here, or I do this. But that's not who they are. That's what they do. So again, so again, explain to me or elaborate on that question. Who are you? What is the proper way to answer that question? How do you know who you are? To clear that up. Us.
Yes, your ethnic identity. As an ethnic group of the African race, we are African Americans. Okay. We were born here, but our parents and our lineage go back to Africa.
Yes.
Now the Caribbean brothers and sisters, they identify with their local identity, such as Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados. They'll relate to that first, see, before they relate to the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
Because we all came over in the same damn boat. Okay, especially during that transatlantic slave trade, which was sanctioned by the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? Now, that's your ethnic identity. The Caribbean brothers and sisters now are beginning to come, when they come here, are beginning to come around and identify with the continent where we're coming from. They wasn't doing that so much, say about 5, 10 years ago. No, I Trinidadian, you know. Me from Trinidad. Me Jamaican, you know. A Jamoke, you know. Yo, man. So you Jamaican, you Trinidadian, you Barbadian. I'm a Barbadian, you know. I said, okay, and there's a tension between those three because they identify with their local identity, okay, rather than coming over here. And that's the ethnic identity from the local country where they come from. When you get to your racial identity, you got to go to that continent. Now, what can we do as parents?
No. How do you answer that question? Thank you, Pop. I'm glad you remembered that also. Good job. But what can we do as individuals? Because we also want to hear more steps from you. But how do you answer that question? Who am I? Like, how do you answer that question? It's not what you do. So, and maybe I'm asking it incorrectly.
I think that's straightforward.
How do you answer that question? Who am I? So, somebody came to you, who are you? What would you say?
I say I'm an African American.
So that's who you are.
When you look, if you notice the forms that you fill out, they ask you what race you belong to. Okay.
But isn't that the answer to that question? Is if they say who are you, and I'm saying I'm African American, am I answering the question as to say that's my race, but that's not necessarily who I am?
No, but that's your ethnic identity. Okay? You're an African American. When you go to those application forms, they're going to ask you where you from. Not only where you from, but then too, what race are you, and what ethnic group are you? They're going to ask you that on these. That's a standard questionnaire on these application forms. So when you apply for these, get these applications, make sure when it says African American, that's what you check off. I'm an African American.
But who are you? And let me say this. Okay. It's not like, how do I put this? Maybe that's just a trick question, right? Maybe that's just a setup question or whatever. Maybe it's irrelevant in and of itself. But I've read and done some research over the years where that's a pivotal question, not only from the person asking it, but for the person who it's being asked of. Because as you mentioned, one of the things that we as a culture lack is the failure of understanding who we are. And if we knew who we are, we probably wouldn't be tricked into a lot of the things that we're doing now or easily beguiled, because we know who we are. Like, in essence, there's this new thing coming out now in the news, we're coming to America too. It's coming out, or what have you. Well, Eddie Murphy played a pivotal role because he knew he was the son of the king of Zamunda, so to speak, right? Zamunda, right? So when you know who you are, like I come from a line of kings. It gives you, like other cultures, Jewish, all other cultures, they know, what their cultural background is, and it gives them a sense of belonging, it gives them a sense of confidence, and it gives them a sense of authority, knowing that that's where they come from, that's their history, how rich it is, as opposed to us who have been uprooted from our country, brought here into the Americas, where our history hasn't been taught to us. There's stuff we can learn today that we didn't even know. Wow, you serious? Stuff they didn't tell us about the inventors and stuff like that. So that's why I'm posing it in that central question of who you are that a lot of us don't even know how to answer. Our identity is tied into what we do, and many times what we do is aligned with the company that we work at, where the company that we work at is owned by whites. So we're saying our ownership of who we are is centered on a white system belief.
I was going to say, you answer your own question. So Robert Bentley, it's that cognitive dissonance. And it is kind of generational. I think you answered your own question. It's like a generational thing too, because when you all coming up, you had a more grounded base of where we come from. Even though we all have been indoctrinated, but you all were still closer to a lot of the actions and principles that we brought from the motherland, going through the enslavement period, but still coming out on that end and being scarred, but still holding on to some of those kind of core principles of how we conduct ourselves. And then now, from 1864, 65 up to now, it's like, okay, now that's starting, not even starting, it's been getting diluted. So when he asked that question, it's kind of somewhat generational too, because it's like, okay, you're saying, yo, I'm African American. For some of us now, we may say, I'm human. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of, and then when we talk about the political context, social and political context, politically, I'm African, straight up. African, like I'm not gonna say I'm African, has to be an American. But then as a totality, as a global, I'm a human global citizen. You know what I'm saying? And then if you want to go even deeper, I'm a spirit having a human experience. You know what I'm saying? Like we can go levels. So, but a lot of us aren't even there yet. I'm still trying to get there. So we're talking about, when we're talking to our people, like Malcolm said, we're talking straight man to man, person to person. And they ask us that question, like, if they say, who are you? What, not necessarily what should be the answer, but how should they be thinking in order to answer that for themselves?
Now, as you get into your culture and your history,
Yes.
you'll notice you'll have a different attitude. You'll have the same attitude that these Europeans have. And they can't stomach that kind of competition. See? So like they say they're European. I'm German because I'm from Germany. I'm English because I come from England. I'm French because I come from France. And like when you say that you're an African American, and then you hook up yourself to the continent, say like to Ghana. See, when you go back to Ghana, you got to go back to Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes.
See, Kwame Nkrumah came over and went to Lincoln University. Then he went up. Then he went back to Ghana, go set it up. He set up a UN right there in his own country. And Yakubu Gowon in Nigeria, when he was overthrown, took him up to teach him. But I'm saying that's your ethnic identity. It's important for you to know your ethnic identity. Because you'll notice you'll get a different feeling about yourself. Your attitude will change. Your behavior will change. Your conduct will change because you know who you are. And others around you will pick that up. They will treat you one way if you act one way. But once they find out that you know who you are, the attitude changes.
Thank you, Bob. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to continue this. So, final with the remaining few minutes that we have, I think it's 16, 17 minutes. We have action steps, like I said, cultural generation, ethnic identity. I asked you the difference between the two, which you elaborated on. Very nice, and Kyle helped with the phrase, thank you so much. And then we have, you said another step 3 would be voting. Are there any other steps that your generation can give to the younger generation, in particular Generation Z or the what'd you say?
Multillennials.
Multillennials. Is there any other steps, tangible steps, in addition to the 3 that I've already mentioned, that you know of right now off the top of your head that you can give to us? Again, your cultural generation you mentioned, important to know that, important to know ethnic identity, important to know the power of voting, right? Because the attitude towards voting from our community. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm thinking too, any like books or resources, basic like single resources that they can go to, just a few, that they can kind of start to kind of do their own research, kind of look into some of these things, whether it be a video online or whether it be books or institutions, just a few that they can kind of start to kind of do that research on.
All those books you have in your house, man? For real?
That's what it is. It's all that knowledge. Trust me, Robert Bentley. I understand. It's never a few. It's a whole bunch. But just a few that they can maybe start with to kind of.
Africa's Gift to America by Joe A. Rogers. The world's great men of color. They give you leaders from the continent over to here. By the same author, J. A. Rogers.
Phenomenal writer. Phenomenal historian.
Now, Africa Gives to America, the world's great men of color.
And one more, Pop. Don't stress yourself.
Okay. Where you want to bring in some of our sisters, because they need to know our own culture, collectively our own culture. We got 100 amazing facts about the Negro, J. A. Rogers. Then you want to read about Cleopatra. I didn't bring that picture there.
You don't have it in your bag over here, though?
No, son. I was looking at it this morning when I was waiting for it, and I forgot to bring it. But the reason we have to know about our queens, for example, Queen Yaa Asante from Ghana.
Boy.
They have a special ceremony over there in Ghana called the Golden Stool. On this golden stool, only the queen of the mighty Ashantis, that's the name of the tribe, only the queen is allowed to sit on that stool. I think that's an annual ceremony if it's still carrying on today. The golden stool, solid gold. The only one allowed to sit on that is the queen. The one who sat on that thing is Yaa Asante, but that's what his name is. Yaa Asante. Then you got Nzinga. Well, you got Nefertiti.
Any parting words that you would like to add, Kyle, Pop, and I'm going to be real brief with mine. So we'll start with you, Kyle, based on today and what you learned or what have you. You got 10 minutes.
All right. So first of all, I want to give thanks for being here today. Give thanks for those who are listening. Give thanks to Robert Bentley for sharing his wisdom and energy with us today, because that's very important as far as the carry on. We talked about legacy, carrying on that legacy, carrying forth those traditions and culture that we need to in order to progress as a people, and also to feel connected to the community. That's important for me. That's important for all of us. And my closing words is, like he said, unity. Brother Malcolm said, unify. But in order to unify, we also have to be on one accord, and that comes with a lot of hard work and training. And what's going on right now, what I see a lot of people are talking, and this is nothing new. A lot of people talking it, but they're not willing to do the work. And it takes work, but there's love in the work, though. That's where the love is at. That's where people are like, man, I want to, where's the jewels? The jewels are in the work. The result is what will be, but the jewels and the love and things that we need to learn is in the work. And I have to constantly remind myself of that too. And this is part of that work. Because we're talking, but we also want people to act upon these things and be able to act upon the knowledge that we're sharing, and even some of the information and maybe a little slight misinformation that we're sharing, to be able to go back and do your own research and do the due diligence, so that way you become better, you're able to share that with other folks. So I'm glad I'm here. This has been a worthwhile experience in the morning, and I want us to keep doing this and build more, so that way, again, when we're learning these lessons and learning these pieces of history and knowledge, so that way it engulfs us with the energy to do more, to be more, so that way we become more.
My dad is impressed. Look at him.
I'm proud of both of y'all now. Y'all come through. Y'all come through during a period of time when it was intense upon wiping y'all out for y'all not to make it. Okay? So the mere fact that y'all are here showed me that now you're proof that you're here. Okay? That gives me optimism. Got some younger brothers now who knows who they are, very intelligent, articulate, and going to be the future leadership of us, from our people coming up. for the younger ones and whatnot. So I'm just proud of y'all, especially made it through. And knowing what y'all went through, trying to make it here. See what I'm saying? Because at one period of time, y'all or the young coming out are targets, okay? By the police department, not only the police department, but other governmental agencies that's run by the Klan to target y'all, or the ones coming up beyond y'all, after y'all.
I have nothing else to add to this. I think they covered it very well. What I do want to say before being remiss, Kyle, based on the new collective that we're doing, how would you like for the viewers to reach you?
Well, the viewers can reach me on 2 platforms. One is Twitter, that is KEASY773, KEASY773, and Instagram, DIX_KYLE. So Dix Kyle, DIX_KYLE on Instagram.
Awesome. Pop, I know you're not a social media type. I know you probably don't know any social media handles or whatever. But this is about Pop. So you can reach me like Kyle, he has Twitter. I usually, you can reach me via YouTube if you go to Kayode Bentley on YouTube. If you go to Facebook, Kayode Bentley. Twitter is Balagoon Legit. So those mechanisms, you can reach out to me on that. So on that note, I don't have any parting words to say. I think you have said it all. I appreciate it. We're going to have more of these type of discussions, not so much questions, but more of these type of instructions to like the collective, and Kyle done so eloquently, is to give back to the community, to inform the community, to build our community. So I just hope that this information was useful. I hope it helped. And also feel free to send us via Kyle's handle, social media handles, on my social media, any questions or anything that you might have questions about, or who you might want to see, and if we can, then we'll do our best to try and present them to you. But thanks for listening. We appreciate you, and we just hope we can continue to inform you. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Baby, yeah. You don't say ready on this. You know I have patience.